War 1005.
Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of Peace Now, Peace Forever. Tonight, we'll be showing you a documentary of sorts, focusing on the anti-war movement during the 1960s and 70s. For all you people out there who lack PhDs, I'll give you a brief synopsis. The United States' involvement in Vietnam began in the 1950s as America sent aid and advisors to Vietnam to help the ailing French keep control. The French soon failed and left Vietnam in the hands of the United States in 1954. As time went on, the situation became more and more unstable, and more advisors were sent to Vietnam by the United States. More pressure was put on the government to send troops in Vietnam as it became more likely we would lose Vietnam to communism. Finally, in 1965, ground troops were dispatched to beat back the Red Tide in Vietnam as the ground war escalated. Public opinion of the war was strong at first, but as the war dragged on, that changed indefinitely. This was the spark that lit the fire of the anti-war revolution in America and around the world. The first official protest, however, was held in London, Australia in 1963 to condemn America's involvement in Vietnam. After the exposure of the My Lai massacre, war protests soon spread to the United States. The majority of protesters were college students in groups of peace-loving people called hippies. Public opinion of the war quickly turned sour, as it was the first war to be seen back home through the medium of television. In 1965, 61% of people favored the war. In 1971, 28% of people favored the war. So please, sit back, enjoy, and allow peace to flow freely through you.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side.
Hey guys, what is your stance on the war?
It's wrong. We shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lose my friend here to some crazy Asian war.
I just got drafted. Guess what I do with my draft card? I burnt it. That's what I think about the war. My brother was drafted 4 months ago, and I just can't sleep sometimes, wondering if I'm gonna wake up and get a letter. It's rough, man. It's gonna be okay. We're here to protest this war. We won't let it go on any longer. We're gonna show people what's right.
Are you getting ready for any protests soon?
Absolutely. We've been making some signs, share our feelings with the world, and how this war is wrong, and we shouldn't be there. Bring our boys home. Make love, not war. I'm Dylan Thomas, and I'm proud to say I'm an anti-war protester.
Hoorah!
How did I get started in the anti-war movement? Well, I was for the war when it first started, but then every night when I came home to watch the news, I'd see these dead babies, bloated corpses, carnage.
It's not right, man.
It disgusts me.
It's not right.
So I got organized. I met up with a few of my college buddies. You probably met them. And we became anti-war protesters. We actively participate in protests across the county, and we do everything in our power to show the world that this war is not our war.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's breaking news report. We have a shocking update on the war in Vietnam. It's another sad story filled with death and destruction. It has come to light that an entire village of innocent civilians has been brutally massacred. By whom do you ask? The United States Army itself. A year later, the story has finally come to the surface. On March 16, 1968, a unit from the U.S. Army went on a berserk rampage, killing, raping, and torturing over 400 unarmed Vietnamese civilians in a village called My Lai. This sparked global outrage and has further increased already existing anti-war sentiments. People from across the country have called for soldiers to be immediately pulled out of Vietnam and to stop the fighting. People also wonder that if this is not the first atrocity committed by U.S. soldiers during this long war. For many who once thought themselves as neutral on the Vietnam War subject have now joined the millions against the war. Statistics also show that conscientious objectors numbers have had a significant increase in the exposure of this tragedy. This seems to have a devastating effect on the war effort by the government, as more and more people are pulled away from the cause that is now seen stained with the blood of the innocents.
This has been a Channel 7 breaking news report. Thank you, and good night.
And check this out. Alright. The My Lai massacre. I don't even understand what we're doing there. I mean, who are we even fighting? It says here that they killed several hundred villagers, and not just soldiers, elderly and women and children too. I just don't even have faith in this. We get more news like this every single day. Alright, we're up on our way to a protest up at Kent State, and we're here to protest the involvement in Cambodia. President Nixon just invaded in 1970, and here we are. JB's taking us.
Yep.
We're almost there.
So,
I just can't stand this escalation. He just keeps
I know,
on going.
It gets up and up. How many troops are involved in Vietnam these days?
It's too many to count.
Too many indeed. Bastard.
So I heard there's going to be a bunch of
wait,
people there today.
Looks like they got a National Guard member up here.
Hey, this area is quarantined. You can't go in there.
Why? What happened?
There was a shooting.
What?
Who?
The National Guard. Things got out of control.
How did it get out of control?
There was a
Were the
riot.
protesters
It was
violent?
getting violent. It was getting violent.
Who was getting violent?
What were they doing?
The protesters.
What were they
What
doing?
happened to the students?
I don't know. That's all my commanding officer told me. There was 9 students were injured and 4 were killed.
What?
You can't go into. The area is quarantined off.
Oh my God.
Goodness me.
That's all I can say. You gotta turn around. This area's quarantined.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Now?
Let's just walk in.
Right on.
Yeah.
Make it.
We gotta show some support.
Yeah. This is an update report on the recent Kent State massacre. 4 students were killed and 9 were injured at Kent State University this Monday, May 4th, by the Ohio National Guard, when 2,000 students protested recent American involvement in Southeast Asia. On Thursday, April 30th, President Nixon announced that the U.S. had entered a military campaign against Cambodia. The following day, a demonstration was held on the Kent State Commons. The mayor of Kent declared a state of emergency on May 2nd when students got too rowdy and the National Guard was called in. Over the next couple of days, students were beat back again and again by bayonets and tear gas. Finally, on May 4th, Syrian violence took place. With authorization from the U.S. court, the National Guard attempted to disperse the crowd gathered. When students refused to leave the protest, a group of National Guard members abruptly opened fire on the crowd of students at 12:30. Around 30 of the 77 National Guard members reported firing their weapons. Some aimed at the students, others aimed at the ground or into the air. Nonetheless, after a minute of shooting, 4 students were left dead and 9 others were wounded. 2 of the dead were not even involved in the protest and were simply moving on to their next class. It is known as the Kent State Massacre or the May 4th Massacre.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want to see more. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do I have a permit?
Get out of Vietnam.
We're protesting.
Hey.
We're protesting the Kent University massacres and the Vietnam
1,
War.
2, 3, 4. We don't Let's get out of there.
So I'm not gonna go home.
3, 4.
I don't have a permit. But we're protesting. Because of the kids, people dying in Vietnam and at home.
2, 3, 4.
This war has moved home.
We are not boys.
LBJ, how many kids have you killed today?
LBJ, how many kids have you killed today?